We think that by the end of this year, when we turn Lightning on, we could potentially almost, I think, double the size of the Lightning network.
Hello, welcome to episode 64 of the Bitcoin Game. I'm Rob Mitchell. And let's jump right into my interview with Coinmine's Farbood Nivi. Thanks for coming to my house, Farb.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Basically, somewhere in my Twitter feed, I saw someone with a Coinmine and just started looking at it. I'd never heard of it.
Yeah.
But something about it just, I don't know what it is. It just looked like it had an even greater degree of like kind of user friendliness and stuff. And I saw it's Lightning node, Bitcoin full node, and mining a couple of other coins. And then I saw you guys were in Los Angeles. I was like, oh, I got to find out more.
That's right. The LA crypto community.
I'd love to learn about you and your background and stuff. So what is your background?
Prior to Coinmine, I've been a startup guy for a while. I've been building computers since I was a kid. My first startup was in high school, building computers for friends and family and selling it to them.
So these were like PCs?
Basically, yeah. And my co-founder, Justin, who's an incredible designer, industrial designer, especially did all the design for the Coinmine, does the design for all our website and app and stuff like that. We've both been tech and product fanboys our whole lives. Started getting into crypto a few years ago. Maybe it's more than a few years ago because time flies now. Started building our own miners. So went through the challenges and the work involved. And this is coming from someone who's built their own computers since they were a kid. Still took me a decent amount of time to, get a device that was up and running. That was not, you can go buy a CPU that's $30. You can also buy a $500 CPU. You may not. It takes time to figure out that you don't need a $500 CPU to mine Ethereum. You can use a $30 CPU. And again, even somebody who knows computing, there's a bunch of figuring that out. So then you go and you buy a bunch of stuff that's too expensive. Maybe you return it. You try and find a more economical way of doing it. Then you have all the setup time, the operating system, the maintenance, new protocols come out, Monero forks to kick off all the Asics. It just, I think what we learned is a lot of people want to participate in powering crypto networks. They're fine with the economics of it because time is money, right? So depending on how you value your time, it's probably actually more cost-effective to buy a Coinmine than to build your own mining rig, given the time you have to spend building it, the time you have to spend maintaining it indefinitely if you want the thing to stay up and running. And we learned a lot of people who stopped mining to their detriment. Like people, I would talk to friends who were, mining Monero in 2012 for 6 months before they just, the machine went down or they forgot to update it or they just didn't get around to fixing it. If they had, they would have just totally killed it. But the updates kind of keep most people from doing it long term. When we were first building our own rigs, we were kind of looking around online for used rigs or used parts and stuff like that, which is a great way to get started if you want to build it yourself, because it can be cheaper that way. And when we talked to people who were selling their old GPUs or selling their old rigs, and you'd be like, "Well, why are you selling it?" They're like, "I didn't want to keep up the maintenance." So my co-founder actually came up with the idea of what if we could build a. Because my background is in so my other startups, built apps before in the learning space, built an online learning platform where students taught each other, sold that to Kaplan. I've been building apps on the iPhone and stuff for years. And he designed the Pebble Watch 2, which was, I think, the second biggest Kickstarter ever. Pebble Core, he's designed for Adidas and Braun. So he had this, strong background in tech industrial design. I have this background in product software design and consumer software. So he came up with the idea of, what if Apple built a crypto device? What would it look like? How would it be?
It does look a bit like that.
Thanks.
Do you remember what got you into computers in the first place?
I was doing computing camps when I was like 5 years old.
You were just into it? Or
my dad is, an engineer. He's a PhD mechanical engineer, but in fact, I think his PhD work was he was, I think, the first person to build a electronic engine. When you go to the mechanic, they plug your engine into a computer and they get all this. So he actually is the first person to design one of those. That's what he did for his PhD thesis way back in the day. And then he was a engineer at Ford and an executive at Ford for many years. So he's been, we had computers in our home since before I was alive, literally. And so, even when I was just a few years old, I was playing on those computers, and then he was enrolling me in like local computer camps where, they're teaching programming to a 5-year-old and stuff like that.
And you liked it?
Yeah, I liked it. My brother as well. My brother went to MIT, got his engineering degree from MIT. So I've just been, a computer geek and building things since I was a little kid.
You said you're putting together computers as like your first job. Was that just kind of like for friends and family, or were you like putting ads in the paper, or what?
The company's actually still running in Michigan. It's called Vision Computer Solutions. We were sort of doing, it was me and my best friend in high school. We were basically building computers and setting up small networks for small businesses. And this is when people were really just starting to like get it, personal computers into every home. Then we kind of switched over to just helping people find the right personal computer from Dell or something like that and helping them get it set up, sort of like a Geek Squad before Geek Squad.
Did you even bother going to school or anything?
I went to University of Michigan, dropped out halfway through my first semester to work on the business. Mm-hmm. Ended up going back to Michigan and finishing my degree. But I was kind of doing both of those at the same time.
Has your degree helped you in any way?
So my degree is in psych, and then I've got some. Then I basically minored in film and business as well. So yeah, they actually, I think, helped me a ton, especially the psychology and the film part, because storytelling is a hugely important component of being an entrepreneur. Whether it's telling yourself a story, telling people that you want to work with you a story, telling your customers a story. Getting that information across in a way that's digestible for people is, I think, a pretty necessary skill for any entrepreneur. And then obviously psychology in terms of just basic human psychology and how people think through things.
What got you into Bitcoin or cryptocurrency in the first place?
So I'd say Bitcoin and the vision behind it. It's sort of, to me, just one of the greatest things people have invented. It's a really elegant and beautiful design from a lot of perspectives. Not just obviously the software design, but the incentive structures, the game theory design, the idea itself is sort of brilliant, I think. So I was just kind of moved by what it could do. And I think this was 4 or 5 years ago now. I think it's done a lot of those things that I was imagining it could possibly do, like a lot of people were imagining, and it's now an easy way to send money all over the world. I mean, 4 or 5 years ago, the idea of large institutions participating in Bitcoin seemed impossible. I don't know, like in Ohio, you can pay your taxes with Bitcoin. I think AT&T is accepting Bitcoin for your phone bill payments. 4 or 5 years ago, if you were saying that to someone, they would just laugh at you. They're like, this irrelevant magical internet money is going to be accepted by the state of Ohio to pay your taxes. So I think it's just mind-blowing that it's doing what it sort of set out to do.
Was mining your first kind of foray into like a business?
Just buying and selling crypto was the first foray, and then getting like an Asic miner and building GPU miners, and then eventually Lightning nodes and things like that.
So eventually Lightning nodes, what you're saying for yourself, or?
Yeah, we started playing with Lightning nodes last year. So Coinmine was running, but when we first started Coinmine, there wasn't going to be a Lightning node inside each one. But as we started sort of working on them, we realized that the device can actually power a proof of work network like Ethereum while simultaneously running a full Bitcoin Lightning node. And what's cool now is you can imagine a scenario where you're mining, you're generating Bitcoin and then just automatically funding your Lightning node with it. So now you can send and receive Bitcoin with anybody in the world basically for free instantly. And then other people can route payments through your node, and you can earn fees for routing other people's payments and providing liquidity to the network.
Is the Coinmine your actual first like product, software, hardware, anything in the space?
The Coinmine 1 is our first foray. It's our flagship device into the space. That's right.
And yours personally?
Yeah, that's right, in terms of hardware.
And what made you decide that you thought this was where you wanted to really focus cryptocurrency instead of all these other areas?
It's sort of the perfect confluence of all of the things in my life, to be honest. So when I was younger, I taught, and I took sort of the way that I taught into software. We built my first couple of startups. The first one was called Grocket. It was essentially students teaching each other online. The idea there was to sort of decentralize the teacher and have the students teach each other. In my classroom, I facilitated that in person, and then online we facilitated that through software. So I've always been a big fan of this idea of decentralization, non-centralized authorities, whether it's in the classroom or in the monetary system or in the information systems. So philosophically, I've always just been very aligned with that. Then obviously building hardware, like I said, I've been doing since I was a kid, and then got into building software. So it's kind of this perfect confluence of all of the things that had been happening in my life, both philosophically and just practically.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a perfect fit for your interests. Was it also, were you doing a calculation where you think cryptocurrency is going to keep taking off and this is a good business decision, I guess, too? Or?
Yeah, I still think we're at the very, very early stages. I'm hardly the only or first person to sort of make the analogies to the early days of the internet. I think Mark Andreessen likes to tell stories about a certain New York Times reporter who was basically tasked with just trashing the internet during the entire 90s, saying that it'll never be bigger than the fax machine. No one will ever do business on the internet. So the degree to which we were wrong about that, I think if you're a naysayer of crypto and Bitcoin, you're going to be equally as wrong over the next 5 to 20 years. We're just really at the beginning. I think the whole world will be running on these technologies.
Are your parents still alive?
My father is.
What does he think of cryptocurrency and what you're doing?
He's a smart guy. He has his own startup, actually. He's in his 70s. He hasn't stopped. It's kind of the way he's always been. He's into crypto a little bit himself because we told him to put a little bit of money into it a few years ago. But it's the sort of thing that like father, like son. He gets it too. He sees how it's the future. He's philosophically aligned with it, and he's been such a proponent of tech forwarding humanity his whole life that to him it all just makes sense, I think.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, because every once in a while I'll talk to someone whose parents were like, well, what are you doing? You're wasting your life.
Oh, sure, yeah, that's a good point. My parents have always been like very fine with my brother and I, trying to be on the bleeding edge of stuff. So you said the Coinmine 1, is that what you brought here today? Yeah, that's what we brought. And when did you launch that? So we officially launched it at the end of last year, and we started shipping, and now we're shipping is at volume. So we're sending out hundreds and hundreds of these a week now. Okay. And when did they first ship? They technically first started shipping at the end of last year in December and in January of this year, and we've been ramping up shipping, and now we're kind of like at scaled shipping, at volume shipping. Can you disclose how many you've shipped so far? Orders? We don't talk about numbers publicly, but we think we'll have at least thousands of units out in the wild before the end of this year. Okay. I don't know if we should take a look at it. We can, in person, and ask some more questions. Okay. Sure. So maybe I'll unbox it and not say too much, but okay, cool. I've been warned on Twitter as people say, "Oh, it's a lot bigger than I thought." So. Yeah, I guess it's tough to know how people imagine it when they're imagining it. It's about the size of a PlayStation or an Xbox. So let me just open this thing up mostly, and I'll start asking questions after. So is this just one picked up off the floor, just like any other one you mentioned? That's right, yeah, I took it right off the assembly line. I guess maybe I'll take a couple pictures. We brought you a black unit. We just started selling the black units. And that's the Bitcoin Genesis block. Right. Oh, all of the numbers. Oh, cool. I didn't With Satoshi talking trash to the banks getting bailed out. Shrink wrapped and everything. Yep. Whoop. What? Usually that doesn't come off. Oh, it's supposed to be stuck in the box? Yeah. Oh well. Doesn't come off like a problem. Yeah. All right, so You can use that ribbon to kind of pull it up just to get a grip on the thing.
I guess this is good to see how people deal with your thing in real life. It's so heavy, I can't tell if it's stuck or just the weight.
I guess it's stuck. Seems like, there you go. Tend to try to be gentle with it, which is understandable.
Alright. Okay, this looks very Apple-ish. Got the hello, my name is, and we got device ID. Wow, one plug, okay.
Comes with.
Just press that button?
Yeah.
Alright. Oh, nice noise. Alright. And there's no displays or anything on the box. It looks
That's
like
right, everything is done with the app. It's in the App Store, just search for Coinmine.
Okay, and let's just see your little, the one piece of literature in here. This is your Coinmine 1. There are many like it, but this one is yours. It will be your sidekick in the new world that we are building together. By powering crypto networks, you'll be rewarded with crypto, and you'll help build a world where value and information flow freely. Just plug in, connect, and power a new world. Basically, power it on, which we did. Download the app, which I did. Let's see, set up a new account. Okay. Oh, create account. There we go. Okay. Should I just put some dummy info in here real quick?
Yeah, you can.
Doesn't really matter, I guess.
Doesn't matter much. Soon the Apple's sign-in will make all these things unnecessary. They've also just launched CryptoKit, which is pretty cool.
Right. I glanced at that. Okay, so now I'm online. Add a device. Not buy a device. Add a device. How would you like to connect? Wi-Fi. Enter the 8-digit code. I guess, do I just scan that?
We don't have the scan working. You just got to type it in right now, yeah.
I see there's a letter in here that's lowercase. Does that matter if it's lowercase?
It does matter if it's lowercase, yeah.
So Coinmine wants to join Wi-Fi network.
Yep, you can hit join.
So it has its own Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it's going to admit its own hotspot, and then it should present a list of your networks around the house. And you can select your home network and put your home network password in. And
see, and I have a password app that keeps popping up and kind of getting in the way of stuff.
Oh, it does? Okay, that's good to know.
That's here. I'll just I can't tell.
Oh yeah,
it's kind
that's
of
interesting. That's new. Is it not letting you?
Well, I feel like I don't know if it's more of the password app.
Oh, yeah. I think we maybe had not accounted for that password app, but that's a good catch.
Yeah, and that's a new thing that
Apple's doing.
Yeah. So, gosh, yeah, that.
Let's take a look. It's good for me to see.
Yeah. Okay, so add a device. We already done
Wi-Fi. Oh, I think also you've got your font size up a little bit.
Oh, really?
Which is another good thing for me to see. Out in the wild.
I think going back screwed things up. Uh-oh.
No, not usually. Yeah, there's the Coinmine right there, so we know it's up and running. I can set it up on my device real quick too, or you can actually just go through the flow here.
Okay.
Sometimes it likes to reboot because we tried to join once and it joined it, and then it's we're just gonna do a quick little reboot.
Okay. And so that has a disc in there, at least one, right?
Yeah.
Inside that thing? Spinning disc or?
Yeah, it's got a HDD, it's got a hard drive.
Do you have to worry about power outages or anything messing up with?
Not really. It'll if power goes out, it'll come back on and reconnect itself once it's once everything's up and running.
I felt like it was working fine, and then my issue, I feel like
it's possible. Yeah, it's got Ethernet as well. Some people, probably about 25% of people use the Ethernet port. Just kind of depends on what's convenient for you.
And is there a lot of bandwidth going back and forth?
Not really. Yeah, that's what's nice about it. It doesn't really have much of an effect on your internet bandwidth. It basically gets a job sent down to it, does its job, sends the answer back up, gets another job, does its work, sends the answer back up. So it's not, while it's sort of always connected to the internet, it's not really always using it.
Mm-hmm. Is it working kind of like a pool to you guys, or?
Yeah, that's right. It's pool based. Right now we're using some third party pools, but we're building our own pool.
Is there an advantage to having your own pool?
Yeah, we can sort of reduce costs and get more crypto to the customer, and just have more control over the situation. Not sometimes the third parties, their pool could go down. The pools we're using are very large, so that's not going to happen anytime soon.
But does it kind of connect up with you guys and then go to the pool?
Yeah, that's right.
And I see this light going up and down on the side. Is there?
That means that it should be ready. I'm just, for some reason, maybe it's my phone's that's not showing.
No, I do not.
I don't see any networks for some reason.
Oh, you don't see any? Because there's I think a 20.
I was going to say, yeah, usually I think my phone may just be in a weird state. It doesn't want to show me any Wi-Fi networks.
Okay.
Usually you can see a million. Do you see the Coinmine in your list of Wi-Fi hotspots?
Let me look on my computer, see if it has anything different.
Okay, I see it now. Okay. So you see that like my text size is a little bit smaller.
I think I thought I was just adjusting the icons on the screen.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I realized it was having such an effect.
Should be better now.
Add a device. Done. Wi-Fi.
Well, let's make sure it works this time too. This is good learning for me.
Yeah, things that you'd never guess. Like, why is this guy having this problem?
Yeah, we learn all sorts of little things when we are out there working with people and getting feedback from customers. But it's good because it lets us learn. To join the network, that's really weird. Because you joined it the first time, right?
Yeah.
Let me give it a try. It'd be one thing if it didn't work the first time. It's odd that it... You'd be amazed. Sometimes, you have to kill the app. Sometimes you have to restart your phone. It's kind of like,
I guess I will.
The nice thing is, for the most part, we find people report that it's the easiest hardware setup they've had. And then every once in a while, you get like an edge case where... I don't know, maybe we broke this one.
I don't know. Does unplugging it do more of something than turning it off? Or is it the same?
Who knows what it is. I'm going to let it boot, and then we're just going to let it sit for like 10 minutes.
Okay.
I think because it connected to your phone, it's trying to reconnect to your phone, so it's not making itself available to others.
Okay.
And after a little while, it would give up and say, hey, you can connect to something fresh. So
I've powered down.
Keep chatting, and then we'll...
Okay. So I assume there's some kind of a GPU in there?
Yeah, so there's a big GPU back here that's doing the bulk of the computation, that's right. And then the Lightning node, for example, doesn't need the GPU. It can run on the CPU, but it does have a large hard drive so that it has the entire Bitcoin blockchain on it.
Okay, and what kind of CPU is that?
It's just a basic Intel CPU, nothing too crazy, yeah.
So it's kind of like a little PC.
It's kind of like a little PC. I mean, your Xbox and PlayStation is basically the same thing. It's just kind of like a PC with more GPU power than like a cheap PC would have.
Do you disclose what your GPU is in there?
Yeah, everything's on the website. This is an RX 580 with 8 gigabytes of RAM.
Is that a popular mining GPU?
It's a pretty popular one. The nice thing about it, because it has 8 gigabytes of RAM instead of 4 or 2, for example, it can do more protocols. When we originally launched the Coinmine, it was actually an RX 570 with 4 gigabytes of RAM. We ended up being able to find a supplier that could give us the 580s with more RAM at a comparable price. So we essentially just upgraded everybody's Coinmine for free. When people originally bought them, they were supposed to have 570s, but they're shipping with 580s. And that gives people access to protocols like Grynn. I don't know if you know Grynn.
Sure.
But Grynn's a really popular, awesome protocol. I mean, it's actually maybe not really popular yet because it's brand new. If I remember correctly, the first Grynn block mined on in their testnet on an AMD GPU was actually on a Coinmine. We got to work with the Grynn developers to help them get it up and running on AMD GPUs, which was really cool. That was our Christmas holiday, and so yeah, it'll power Grynn. We're actually releasing that I think today.
Oh, that new feature. So aside from Grynn, it's Monero and ETH it mines.
Monero, ETH, Zcash, Grynn, and then a whole host of other ones coming out this year.
Okay. And is that something like a user just decides what he likes, or can he have it set to just figure out what's most profitable? Or
yeah, so right now the user sets it, but that's exactly right. We've got some cool algorithms and things coming out that you can kind of just set it and forget it and say, hey, just maximize, my dollar earnings or maximize the amount of Ethereum that I get or maximize the amount of Zcash that I get.
If you wanted just Bitcoin, do you somehow trade that?
Yeah, so we've got some yet to be announced things with Bitcoin coming out soon, which is kind of along what you're talking about. We can do some cool things in the background where we're just auto trading for you, for example, and loading you up with as much of whatever cryptos you like.
I guess it's too difficult to try to mine Bitcoin.
So you would do better by turning the Ethereum that this thing creates into Bitcoin than you would by directly powering Bitcoin right now with this device. It's quite an efficient unit. It's about the same energy as a PlayStation or an Xbox, so around 160 to 180 watts is what it's pulling. So it's like 3 light bulbs.
Is there a reason you chose to just do the GPU and not try to have a Bitcoin miner?
There's more devices coming out in the future.
Okay. It's all controlled from your phone, I guess?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the beautiful thing is that everything is controlled from your app. You don't need a monitor. You don't need a screen. You don't need a keyboard and mouse. Everything just is controlled through the app. And, we really look at it as at the intersection of hardware, software, and services. Hardware is ultimately somewhat commoditized, right? And so to do hardware, you have to go to the edge of the commoditization, which we've been lucky enough to be able to do because we've got great hardware folks in China. Our hardware lead is native Chinese. He's been building hardware in Shenzhen for a decade. So we sort of live at the edge of the commoditized part of the hardware. On the software side, you have 2 big things. The biggest one is our operating system, MineOS. So the device runs on our operating system that we built ourselves. Which allows us to do all these cool things like updating it magically at nighttime with new protocols, with improved energy efficiency, with better hash power. We're constantly updating the operating system without you even knowing it. And then obviously the app is a piece of software, and then services. So soon you'll be able to open the app and the device is generating, say, Ethereum for you, and you just tap in the Ethereum wallet and you can just put that Ethereum into a service like Compound Finance or Cred or BlockFi for Bitcoin, and they'll pay you interest on your Ethereum. So now the device is creating Ethereum for you, for example, and then through the app you're earning interest on that Ethereum. And so it's this combination of hardware, software, and services.
For Lightning, you have all the control to set up channels and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's right. And the Lightning, it'll be a standalone Lightning device, so you'll have to, take some control of that, but that's right.
You said it will be? Or
it ships with a full Lightning node in it. We just haven't turned that on yet. That'll be another software update in the next month or 2.
Gotcha. Okay,
yeah.
So you can't play with that yet. Will that be very manual? We have some things that make it easy, automatic channels?
It'll be pretty easy on the user end. I mean, that's why we haven't quite launched it yet, because we don't want the user experience to require a whole lot of work on people's parts,
Say I don't have any Bitcoin and I'm going to use the app and I want to start a Lightning network. Would you buy the Bitcoin through the app even?
You could send some Bitcoin to your Bitcoin wallet in the app, yeah. There's no exchange in the app yet. Maybe one day, but not right now.
And I guess just because I might not be asking all the right questions, are there more
No, these
things?
are all the right questions.
Oh, okay, but are there other things you kind of want to tout about the unit right now?
I think we pretty much nailed it. Really, the idea is, like you said, it's about making everything easy for people. MineOS is really the brains behind everything that we've built, giving people access to, I don't know if you know, Handshake is a really exciting protocol that's about to launch its main net. So giving people access to exciting protocols when they're brand new is a big part of what we're trying to do. So let's take Grynn, for example. Grynn is an awesome protocol, I think. And even some Bitcoin maximalists don't talk too much trash about Grynn because it's really solid in a bunch of ways. Its monetary policy is solid. The technology behind it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember Grynn, though. Grynn keeps emitting new coins forever, right?
Yeah, 1 Grynn per second forever. So when Grynn launched in January, or when any protocol launches, that's when it's sort of the easiest to power it, the easiest to mine it. You get the most of it. But it's also usually when it's, quote unquote, worth the least in terms of fiat value, right? So if you're bullish on Grynn, because you think in a couple of years Grynn is going to be worth $200-$300 or $1,000 in fiat, what you want to do is accumulate as much Grynn as you possibly can. So right now, Grynn is, I think, $1.80 or $1.90. I wouldn't, this is not financial advice, but I personally, if I'm Grynn bullish, I'm not going to plug in my Coinmine and sell my Grynn at the end of each week or at the end of every 2 weeks for $1.80. What I want to do is accumulate, 50 or 100 Grynn over the next year or something like that, because I think Grynn's going to be worth $200. And, now I made 20 grand off my Coinmine because I held all my Grynn.
I haven't really kept up on the Grynn value, but I did pay attention when Zcash launched, and for the first few hours, it was crazy high value. So
Grynn had a little bit of a spike, and then I think it kind of settled in at somewhere between $1.50 and $2 these days.
I haven't had any shows about Grynn or studied Grynn too much, so that's got the Mimblewimble implemented.
Essentially, the blockchain itself is unaware of the transaction amount. As long as it nets out to zero, it knows that the transaction, each side got what they were supposed to get.
So I guess my thought, again, being a real novice with Grynn, was maybe it was not intended to be a hodl type coin. It was really intended to be a transact type coin.
I think that people have the sense that it's probably a little bit of both. If anything, I think it's currently more of a hodl coin because there's not a whole ton of infrastructure to buy and sell and use your Grynn everywhere, right?
Sure.
So right now, it's like you think Grynn's going to be big, get a bunch of it, hold on to it, wait for the technology to mature, wait for the market to mature around it, and then it'll have a lot of value.
Do you recommend people are storing much value on a unit like this?
So, right now the wallets are kept in the cloud with us, right? If you don't like that, you'll be able to send your crypto out of our wallets to your own wallet if you prefer. And I think it just kind of comes down to the individual person's, preferences, whether or not they want to be responsible for, that custody or they want somebody else to take care of it. As we grow and as we scale, we'll move to, more industrial, scale custody solutions like Coinbase Custody, for example. Coinbase is one of our investors.
I remember seeing some big investors.
We've got some great folks backing us. We're very lucky. Coinbase, Balaji Srinivasan, Brian Norgard, Ryan Hoover, Social Leverage, Howard Lindzen over there at Social Leverage.
How do you even go about getting funding like that?
I think the first and foremost, you have to have an interesting vision. That's what the folks are, especially when it's early stage, right? It's the pretty classic, there's the vision, there's the product itself, and then there's the team. So the vision and the market are sort of aligned with each other, right? So I think the most important thing is to have a big vision for what you're trying to do. Folks that are investing in early stage things, they understand that, the quote-unquote likelihood of these things becoming huge is low. So they want the vision to be big so that, you bet 100 times one of your bets, 1,000 X's and it covers all the others, which is kind of the way early stage investing works.
Sure. How long ago did you get your funding?
Last year.
So you guys were already pretty intense on the project, I guess, at that point, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
And when did you actually start, hey, we're going to do this?
Just over a year ago.
Just over a year. Oh, wow. So that's pretty quick to having, it seems to me.
Thanks. It's been a crazy year. Yeah, we went from concept to shipping, building an operating system, building an app, all of our fundraising, building the team in under 12 months.
How are you guys marketing these?
It's mostly word of mouth. I mean, it's how you heard about it. And that's the part that I think excites me the most. I mean, amazingly enough and awesomely enough, we have a ton of repeat customers. We had one guy bought one Coinmine, got it last Tuesday, bought 5 more on Friday.
Any clue if they're for himself or for other people?
We're not 100% sure. I mean, a couple of them we know that they're for themselves, and I'm assuming some people are probably giving some as some gifts to some lucky people. And another guy bought 2 Coinmines. We shipped him his first. Before he got his second, he bought 5 more. Another guy bought 10 Coinmines, I think yesterday or the day before. So it's been awesome to see that there's repeat customers, so the retention is there, and pretty much all of our customers are coming from word of mouth. People hear about it, they see it on Twitter. We don't do any paid advertising. Do
you go to trade shows or conferences or anything?
No,
nothing. Okay, so companies like Casa have an advantage of having Jim Zlop as someone who everyone follows, and
they're awesome. Close with Jeremy. They're I think he's still their CEO, and he's great. They're great. We love what they're doing. We're big supporters and fans of them.
Let me ask you this. I mean, I even on Twitter I remember having a Twitter fight with someone saying, if you want to buy a Casa, you shouldn't even be running a Lightning node. You should know what you're doing more and stuff. So, and a lot, you can build your own for cheaper and all this kind of stuff. So this is, what, 2.5 or so times as much as a Casa node, right? Why? But obviously it mines. So
yeah.
But from what I've read, it probably is not going to mine enough to cover the cost anytime soon, right? Or will it? Can you be positive?
If I could predict that future, I would, if you could predict that future accurately, then you'd know things that nobody else in the world knows. What it comes down to is what the price of the, how much the asset appreciates when you decide to sell it, right? For me, again, I think if you want to calculate and if you want to be, sort of business-minded about your, calculations around the economics, you have to include labor cost. So if it takes the average person, just say, 20 hours, which is, I think, probably on the low side, to research, build a computer, install the operating system, install the mining software, and maintain it indefinitely, if you say that's just 20 hours, and say your hourly rate is $20 an hour, you're looking at $400 of labor to go into making something like this, plus at least probably another $400 or so of parts at the very least, assuming you somehow you knew to buy the cheapest components, not the components that were more expensive than you needed. So I don't think you can make a device more cost effectively than buying a Coinmine if you include your labor costs. Most people, even if they could spend that time, they don't want to. They don't want to learn how to build a computer. It's just not what they're interested in. So, maybe you drive Uber, or maybe you, do massage work, or maybe you're a lawyer. Working a few extra hours and billing it is a more cost-effective way, I think, than building a whole device. So I think when you take labor into account, something like a Coinmine or a Casa is more cost-effective than building your own.
All right.
There's 3 different ways you can do this. One I call full DIY. Another one is semi-DIY. And then there's plug and play. There's great solutions out there for folks who want to do full DIY. There's websites, there's Discord groups, there's tutorials on how to do all this yourself. If you want to go semi-DIY and sort of buy like a pre-built rig but handle all the software and stuff yourself, there's also great solutions. You can go on eBay and Etsy. They're kind of expensive, but you can buy these pre-built rigs that are a few $1,000s. Or you can do full plug and play, which is like a Coinmine or basically like a Casa. So up until Coinmine and Casa, there weren't really any solutions for people who wanted to do plug and play, for people who would rather just spend the money than spend the time. So I think everyone should participate, either full DIY, semi-DIY, or plug and play.
So, I mean, my attraction to this device is it just seemed, I don't know, I mean, I'm the kind of guy who just loves new tech and gadgets, especially like in the cryptocurrency Bitcoin kind of realm. So I had this just this urge, like, oh man, I want one of these, without any really like solid logical reason. But going back to the mining, and I always feel like, well, you could just buy the coin too, and
through our app, for example, you mean?
Oh no, I just mean don't mine it, just buy.
Oh yeah, you can do that as well. I actually, if you, we've written some articles on this. We got one featured in Hacker Noon. You can look it up. It basically covers the the real economics of mining, and we basically show how mining and hodling can certainly outperform as mining and selling, and it could actually outperform buying, depending on, again, your time preference. You shouldn't. I think mining is for people with low time preference. If your time preference is high, as in like what is the price of it today or what is the price of it at the end of this week, I don't think it's the best thing. I actually don't think that. I think that applies to crypto in general. If you're going to buy crypto, I think my personal view is that you have a low time preference. You want to hold it for some time.
Sure. So now, again, I've never mined anything. I've always kind of just been under the impression, without studying this much, that if you were to spend, whatever amount of money on just buying at a certain date versus buying hardware and the electricity costs and stuff, like I've always assumed you on average maybe come out better just buying the coin. But I don't know how many facts behind that.
It really depends. And I mean, again, if all these things were so 100% one way or the other, then there would just be a guaranteed way to make money and 100% of people in the world would just be doing it. It's just not the case with any sort of financial instruments and things like that. Again, the way to think about it is there's new protocols coming out all the time, right? So when you have a device and you're mining, one of the ways you can look at it is essentially mining is a series of options on some asset. So let's say you start mining and you recoup your costs over, let's say a year, to just pick a number, and then a new protocol comes out. And when protocols are new, they're sort of the easiest to mine. In fact, sometimes they're only mineable. Sometimes they're not even available on exchanges. So now you take this device, it's paid itself back with its Zcash or its Monero or Ethereum, but you still have this asset. Whereas if you just bought, you don't. You just have the thing. So now you can point this device to a new asset. And again, you may earn a lot of brand new coin X, but it may not be worth a ton for another year or 2 years. So depending on how you do it, you can definitely outperform buying with mining, and you can outperform mining with buying. There's, if you think about it financially, they're actually hedges against each other. So that's the way if you want to get into the real hardcore finance discussion of it. Mining and buying are hedges for each other. One can outperform the other, and the other one can outperform this. And there's no guarantee that it goes one way or the other. And if you want to keep things simple for yourself, buy and hold, mine and hold.
It is very attractive, the idea of being able to acquire a coin that you couldn't really get any other way, or maybe only some sketchy exchange. You don't really want to.
I mean, we think that by the end of this year, when we turn Lightning on, we could potentially almost, I think, double the size of the Lightning network.
The upcoming Bitcoin 2019 conference is June 25th and 26th in San Francisco. Hey, that's really soon. There's an amazing lineup of Bitcoin speakers, plus you can get 25% off on tickets if you use the promo code BG25. Just go to bitcoin29conference.com and enter the promo code BG25. After setting up this interview, the fine people at Coinmine gave me a referral code which will allow my listeners to take $50 off the price of a Coinmine. So if you decide a Coinmine is right for you, go to coinmine.com to order and enter the discount code BitcoinGame when you check out, and you'll save $50. That's Bitcoin Game, one word. While I should receive a referral fee for any purchases made using this discount code, hopefully it's clear that I didn't let that influence this interview. So I guess we got to trust you'll be supporting these units for a while.
Yeah.
What risks are there, say you guys were evil and plugging this into our home networks or something? I mean, what do we have to worry about?
There's really nothing we can do as far as your home network is concerned. Yeah, this is the same thing as, having your PlayStation on or having any device on. There's no microphones in it, so it's not listening to you. It's got a little speaker.
And again, I'm not thinking you guys. I'm just, thinking,
of course,
because I'm just a paranoid person.
They're valid things to think about. We live in a world where, you have to be careful about this stuff, and people should be informed. So, like I said, there's obviously no microphone in there. That there's no way for us. There's no cameras in here.
So I guess that's, once this thing is set up, it was creating its own network when I was trying to set up. Will it always do that when you communicate with it, or will you communicate with it on your own network? Or?
Once you set it up, that hotspot disappears, and it's just doing Wi-Fi to your home network.
Can you communicate with it when you're just over the internet?
Yep. You can be anywhere in the world, use the app, and tell it to do whatever you want it to do.
So is that calling you guys and then going to there, or going direct to the unit?
It's going to the cloud, and then it's coming back down to the device.
Okay.
That's right.
So just like a Nest or some kind of device like that?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Could some malicious actor infiltrate you guys and then somehow, I don't know.
All things are possible, but this is just kind of comes down to how we handle our security. So my software lead comes out of Pivotal Cloud Foundry, which is actually very similar. So it's essentially distributed cloud computing is his background. For example, Pivotal Cloud Foundry does work for the DoD. So his baseline of security is what most people think of as insane level of security. Mm-hmm. That's kind of his baseline.
Okay.
So that's kind of a part of the reason why he's on the team. But every crypto company has these issues.
And how big is your team?
We're about 10 people.
Distributed, or a lot of them in LA?
Mostly distributed, but about half in LA, almost half in LA.
Okay. So are these completely assembled in China, or are they some assembled here?
They're manufactured and assembled part in China and part here.
And so your LA location, is that where the assembly?
We're currently doing some in the LA location, but we will probably be moving that to somewhere in Texas in the near future, or China entirely.
Just financial incentives?
Yeah, so we've had some offers from some pretty large OEMs to take over the assembly and manufacture of the device for us.
Should we try to fire this thing up again?
Let's try it again. Why don't you try it?
Okay, and I guess you can see my weird things with my password manager.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's right.
Oh, I forgot I have to power up my phone. I turned it off just in case.
Nothing ever works when you're demoing it.
Yeah.
It's one thing I've learned in my years of consumer product.
All right. So is this switching my phone Wi-Fi all over to that when it does that?
Unable to join. This is so weird. You found some weird bug where this device is just decided to be a pain for some reason.
I wonder how often you go to that point I was at and then have to go back, and if that...
It's pretty rare, but even then, it always just works. I don't know, let me see if it's... every once in a while, it's a distance thing, but that's... the Wi-Fi is, like, distributing quite wide and far, so that shouldn't be an issue. Okay, well, that did work.
Oh, it worked on yours.
I think I just need it to be closer.
Oh, could it be that? Too much interference or
It's
something?
possible, yeah. So, now it's mining. It says setup was successful. Next step is you choose your currency. Let's say I want to do Ethereum. I tap that. I've got multiple devices. There it is. That's this one. You can see that it's mining, and it's got this little blue light that means it's mining Ethereum. So now if I want to, for example, change it to, say, Monero, now it's mining Monero, and in a second you should hear that adjust its color and make a beep. So yeah, now it's just mining on your Wi-Fi.
So is there somewhere I can read about what the different lights mean?
What the different lights? The next version will have a whole support and help section in the app, so you can sort of learn about that. Yeah, there you go.
There it goes. Now it's red.
That's the Monero color.
You guys can do pretty much any color.
Yeah, that's right.
You're cloud-based. Is it distributed servers?
That's right.
Okay. If you guys were totally down, I guess you're not mining then, or?
It's not really possible. Our systems are distributed, so they can't really go down altogether.
I mean, Google goes down once in a while.
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, with that rate of sort of 99.99999% uptime, it'll work even if our cloud servers are down. The worst thing it might not do is update the info in the app until our servers come back on. It runs independently of our servers, mines independently of our servers. It's just to communicate with the app and report how much you've earned and control, turn it off and on, for example.
So, I'm sorry, when did you think Lightning would switch on?
Lightning release is planned for third quarter of this year, somewhere between July and September.
Okay, and what's the difficulties with getting that going?
Everything's on the device as far as it ships with the full Bitcoin blockchain. It'll have to sync a little bit once the device is turned on. We're really just trying to get the user experience refined and really simple for the end user. There's still Lightning is still very new. Even the folks that are building, doing all the software development on Lightning, they're like, it's basically a beta, it's still experimental. Don't put $1 million of Bitcoin in your Lightning channel, because there's also issues around backing up so that in case because your device has to stay on, for example. So we're really trying to get that all sort of ironed out before we release it.
And can you use it as just like a private node and not a...
Yep. You'll be able to send and receive Bitcoin from your node to somebody else's instantly for either 2 or 3 Satoshis or none at all. And in fact, you'll earn fees at some point in the Lightning's maturity for routing other people's payments.
So I assume this thing's probably still syncing up with the Bitcoin blockchain right now?
Right now it's not, but once we turn Lightning on, it'll get itself caught up.
So it's
shipped with everything that's on the blockchain when we ship it.
Okay.
And then once the Lightning comes on, it'll catch up on the past couple of months.
Okay. So right now, is this doing anything with Bitcoin?
Right now, it's not doing anything with Bitcoin.
Okay. It's not a Bitcoin wallet. Nothing. Zero Bitcoin right now.
It'll be doing some things with Bitcoin that aren't Lightning in the near future here. We haven't announced it yet.
Okay.
But then the full Lightning feature will come on. But you'll have your wallet before the Lightning features come on.
Oh, okay. Do you have any idea when that'll happen?
In the next month.
Just, again, user experience stuff? Or
Yeah, that's right.
And will it be syncing blocks at that point?
No, it won't be. Huh. But you'll be able to do some Bitcoin stuff with it.
Man.
It'll be cool.
Jeez, I can't even guess what you're... Okay. And as far as like backups and stuff, is there a way to back up the hard drive in there if you wanted to?
You don't need to. It's everything's backed up on our end, and if something were to happen to the device, for example, you'd be fine. Like if it somehow got fried, or you're smashed to pieces, or your house burned down or something like that, we would just replace your device and everything would be back as it was.
Okay. So if I had the experience I had, I guess would I call you guys to try to get some support?
You'll actually just either hit us up on chat on the website, but you'll actually have chat in the app in the next week or so here, and you just hit us up, and our customer support's always there, and we get you through any issues you have. That's the other thing that you kind of get when you're buying a plug-and-play device versus building your own. You have somebody available to help you troubleshoot and get you through things, and worst-case scenario, just replace your device. The cool thing is that if we have to, for some reason, replace your device, we actually put you on our own cloud servers, so you keep mining, and we cover the cost between when you have to ship us your device and you get your new one.
Okay.
So there's no interruption in you mining, even if you have to send the device back.
Gotcha. How long is the warranty on one of these?
The warranty is 1 year.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, that's good. And that's everything.
Everything, yeah.
So who do you think your typical buyer is? What are they looking to get out of this?
We've kind of learned that we're about 50-50 crypto people and completely non-crypto people. A good chunk of our customers, this is sort of their first foray into crypto. It's physical. They can sort of see it. It's there. We make the whole wallet piece easy. We just start you off with your own wallets. So the way we talk about Coinmine is we want to make crypto easy. Not just mining, not just Lightning. We just want to make all of crypto very consumer friendly. So there's the hardware, there's the software, and then again the services. So say you want to take advantage of something like compound finance that gives you interest on your Ethereum. We make that one tap in the app instead of you having to go create one more account with one more place where you're keeping track of one more set of keys or one more set of logins. We want to just make all of that easy for people. The other thing with the Coinmine, it's $7.99 retail right now. We could have made a device that was 8 times bigger and cost $5,000, but again, it creates just an entry point that's too difficult for most people.
Sure. If someone orders today, how long do they have to wait for one of these?
About 2 to 4 weeks.
I may not have asked for this interview if I didn't know that thing wasn't running Bitcoin stuff yet.
Yeah, you're really a Bitcoin maximalist?
No, but my podcast is
your
mostly Bitcoin.
Is,
but I'm just curious, this maybe isn't a device for Bitcoin maximalists because they don't want to support, I think, any other chains. But
it's possible, but I think in a few weeks here you'll change your tune, and once the Lightning's out there, you'll really change your tune. We're sort of we're very Bitcoin leaning at Coinmine, to be honest. We believe in, at least I do. We believe in the vision of what a lot of these protocols are trying to do. I think a lot of them are a bit nonsensical, and so we try to be a little bit picky about which ones we want to promote and participate in. But we're sort of pretty Bitcoin leaning in our own sense, which is why we're launching a bunch of the Bitcoin stuff that we're about to launch.
Has that always been the long-term goal, or
it was always part of the vision. We just didn't know how soon we'd be able to get there. So we are engineering Bitcoin Asics, for example.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you may see us, release like a consumer Bitcoin miner here in the next year. We've been looking into that for some time now. we'll probably have a line of different products that you'll be able to use. So if you're just hardcore, we may do just a standalone Lightning node, for example. So we'll have plenty of products for Bitcoin maximalists and for other forms of maximalists.
And would your standalone Lightning node also have a full Bitcoin node, or not necessarily?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, so my take is this is just like an intro product. You guys have a lot of other things.
We have a lot more things coming out, yeah, both on the hardware, software, and services side.
When do you think we'll see the next hardware product?
We'll start selling it in pre-orders probably in Q3, Q4 at the latest,
okay.
and start shipping in Q4 or Q1 of next year.
And I can't remember, did you hint at all what something like that might be? No?
So it's going to be sort of the next version of this will be one of them. And then, like I said, they haven't been greenlit yet, but we're doing R&D on a standalone Lightning node, a liquid-cooled Bitcoin Asic.
Wow. That sounds exciting.
Yeah, that's something you could, have in your home without it being noisy, for example, because it's liquid cooled.
And everything, I guess, is trying to be this user friendly.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's where we kind of cut our decisions again, whether or not anybody, your grandma or anyone else can do it.
So I think you've had this thing fired up for, 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Can you actually see something, like you mine a penny of Monero or something?
Let's see. Yeah, it made, few hundred Satoshis, I think, in the time that we've had it on.
A few hundred Satoshis. It wouldn't be much.
Like a few pennies, yeah. Right now, this thing does, on today's prices and difficulty, I think something around $15 to $20 a month of Ethereum, just to kind of give you a baseline. So just about $1 a day, depending on what you're powering with it.
Okay.
But that's at today's prices. I mean, it changes a lot. Earlier this year, it was less than that. Last year at this time, it was like 3 times that amount. So that's again why I think mining and crypto in general are low time preference activities. If you think about them over the sort of 1, 2, and 3 year timeline, you end up doing quite well because you'll be there for those times when the price skyrockets very quickly and the hash rate is lagging. So now you're sort of making a bunch of coin because the hash rate hasn't skyrocketed, but the price ended up skyrocketing. And so it's possible that, all the Ethereum or whatever crypto you have on your device can triple in its value in a month because the price of the asset tripled. So you want to be sort of mining over those time periods and not selling what you're mining at the end of each week. Which is, again, also why we wanted to bring the price down below thousands of dollars, because it's just a lot of money for somebody to hang out there. If I got to put out $3,500 for this massive, 8 GPU mining rig, I mean, I'm just risking more, and I could do other things with that money. Under $1,000, it's more at a price point where, like, okay, I can wait longer for it to pay itself back, if that's what I'm thinking of, if I'm thinking in fiat terms. But a lot of people aren't thinking in fiat terms. They're just thinking in terms of accumulation. So that's kind of why we want to turn it into a Bitcoin accumulator.
All right. And I don't know how fast GPU technology changes. Are these upgradable?
This one is not upgradable, and GPU technology, is changing. We're starting to... you're going to see that sort of thing start plateauing, as we start running up against Moore's Law, which we haven't quite yet. But you're starting to see increased parallelization in computing, which is why your iPhone has like a dedicated machine learning chip. It has a dedicated chip for motion. It has a dedicated chip for its security. It has a separate chip for its general processing. So what you're seeing is a lot of parallelization in compute, and we're going to be doing something very similar. So you could imagine a device that has a CPU, a GPU, an Fpga, an Asic, all in one device.
Okay.
And the other cool thing is, because new protocols come online, a GPU that may not be as powerful on Zcash a month ago may be extremely powerful on Grynn or extremely powerful on Handshake when it launches. So that's the other... If you make things super easy, you give people an opportunity to take advantage of those times where maybe your GPU is not as powerful as it was, a year ago on this protocol, but a new protocol launched, and your GPU is very powerful on that. So that's how you can extend the life of your hardware, is by being on new protocols.
Okay. And so very powerful just because it's not a lot of hash power on there yet.
And, protocols are trying to get less compute intensive.
So you guys will kind of pick and choose what you think maybe the new chain is that you think's exciting to mine and try to enable that capability.
Yeah.
So it could be dozens or something down the line?
Very much so, yeah.
Do you have any idea what things you might be adding soon?
Like I said, Grynn, I think will launch today or tomorrow. We're looking seriously at Handshake. We're looking seriously at Cosmos. We're looking seriously at some cool Bitcoin stuff that I can't say yet. We've got a few others that I'm just drawing a blank on. But yeah, it could easily be north of a dozen over the next year or two here.
All right. Well, it's cool to see. I'm glad we got it working. That was a little scary.
Too. Yeah, I know. It was just, I think, probably a bunch of interference in the area with all the Wi-Fi networks.
Well, great. Well, thanks for coming over.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Thanks for listening to episode 64 of The Bitcoin Game. Will I be buying a Coinmine? I'm not sure, but I'm thinking about it. If you're thinking about it too, please make sure you take into account electricity costs to mine, which is something we didn't really talk much about. And also don't forget that Bitcoin and Lightning Network features, which sound really cool, are not yet active. If and when you decide to order a Coinmine, you'll save $50 by using the referral code BitcoinGame, one word. So if you want a Coinmine, make sure you save $50, and I guess I'll get the referral fee. Woohoo! You can find information and links to topics we discussed on this episode's show notes page at thebitcoingame.com. That's also a great place to comment on this episode. See you next time. Talk to you soon. It seems weird. This is how I sign off usually when I'm on a Skype call. I don't know the right way to sign off when you're still here after we sign these things off.
Well, you can edit it. You have all the options.
No, it's just funny. All right, great. Well, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I hope I didn't take too much of your time there.
No, I was prepared. I've had calls go for 3 hours before.
Oh, yeah? Really? Wow. That's cool.
I think one of my longest was with Fluffy Pony.
Fluffy, I love Fluffy Pony.